study that I'm going to show you is a subjective study. We do things like ask patients, how do you feel? Why is a pharmacist standing up here talking to physicians and talking to patients? Because we're all part of this thing. So there is a triad of treatment that is set up. We are all equal partners in this. But if you look at the top there, the patient is what this is all about. This is not about the pharmacist. This is not about the physician. It is legal in most states for the physician to write an off-label prescription for naltrexone 4.5. Let me repeat that. It is legal in most states for a physician to write a prescription for naltrexone 4.5. So you patients out there who have been told, oh, I can't do that, I'll leave it up to you. Okay, what was the purpose of our study? We wanted to know if LDN was working. We've had data from 1999. We actually had a couple patients from other pharmacies who called in that were longer than 1999. I, being an old research guy, figured that was enough data for us to look at and to at least form some opinions. It is not placebo-controlled, double-blind study. We wanted to know, is it working? We wanted to know what happened to symptoms. We wanted to know what happened to disease progression and quality of life issues as reported by patients. We took all of the prescription files from Skip's Pharmacy. I sent out emails and on the blogs and on all sorts of computer stuff to get people's names. They sent us their names and their telephone numbers. We asked a couple other pharmacies if they would send us names and telephone numbers. We got 7,800 patients. A little over 6,600 some odd patients, I believe, came from our database since 1999. Cheryl put these patients, filled out all this information, put these patients into an Excel spreadsheet, typed a whole bunch of stuff in. It randomized the patients. Each one of the patients got a number. The statistician told me that 278 patients would describe that total population. So we looked at 278 patients. Starting with patient 1, their telephone number, we went down the list to 278. Now, if patient number 14 didn't answer the telephone that day, we went to the next patient and kept on going down. And if patient 14 didn't call us back within a week, we went to patient 279 to the list. Okay, it was all randomized. All of the patients, 278 patients, were called by the pharmacy students, and they spent 15 or 20 minutes with every patient asking questions. All of the answers to these questions were put into an Excel spreadsheet along with their name. How long did you take LDN? The median was 26 months, and for those non-scientific people, there's 278 patients. We counted to the middle of those 278 patients, and that was 26 months. You're going to see why that's important, okay? The average was 29 months, 29.6 months. The standard deviation is a number that fits this data. It says that there is a group of people around the average. The majority of the population is going to be around this average, 2.5 months one way, 2.5 months the other way. Next question. Have you had an exacerbation since you started taking low-dose naltrexone? We didn't define it. One man's exacerbation is another woman's daily life. Out of the 278, 47 patients had had an exacerbation. 83% of the population has had no exacerbation, according to them. Let me repeat that. 83%. If those people who worked for me brought me this number, I would fire them. Last year, I would have fired them, and 3 years ago, I would have fired them. I would have fired them on these numbers, because these numbers, and there's a quote floating around out there with my name on it, that this is a no-brainer. This is such a no-brainer. Even you scientific types, with all of the biases that are introduced here, discounted by 50%. Tell me a drug that treats MS that has 40-some-odd% of the patients with no exacerbations. Tell me one drug, please. Educate me. 17% or 47 patients out of the whole 278 has had an exacerbation. Okay, why? What did you do? What happened? Did you stop? I mean, tell us about why you think you had an exacerbation. Okay, there were 4 patients that knew why they had an exacerbation. We'll get into that. There were 12 patients who stopped taking LDN, and then there were 31 patients that they didn't have a clue why they had an exacerbation. 4 patients that knew why they had an exacerbation. 1 patient had an operation, went into hospital, and was not allowed to take her LDN with her. It was against the law. She had an exacerbation. Second patient, and this is one of our oldest patients, she had a September that I'm glad it was her and not me. She got married, she bought a house, and she got downsized. She lost her job. Those 3 stressors, I mean, I think I don't have MS, but I think I would have had an exacerbation if I had that happen to me in a 2-month period. Okay, the third patient had actually had an operation and had a very serious infection. She was in hospital. She was not allowed to take her LDN. Now, was it the infection? Was it the hospital? Was it not taking LDN? I don't know. You make up your own minds. The 4th patient, this was an interesting young lady. She had been healed. Okay, her MS had gone away. And she decided that she was going to go out in the desert, and she had 2nd and 3rd-degree burns. She was in tough shape. She went in hospital. She was not allowed to take her LDN. Was it because of the burns, the experience in the desert, or not taking LDN? I don't know. Again, you make up your own minds. This is a great group. I love these people. Okay? They figured they were healed, that their MS had gone away, so they stopped taking their LDN. I don't need it anymore. I haven't had an exacerbation, in 2 or 3 years. Why do I need to take this drug? This drug has healed me. Between 1 and 3 months, they had had an exacerbation. Okay? Now, a lot of you folks who have talked to me know I'm a duck guy. If it looks like a duck and it squawks like a duck and it lays little duck eggs, it flies north in the wintertime, it hangs out with other ducks, it's probably a duck. We were talking about studies. When you stop taking a drug, if the condition comes back and then you start taking the drug again and the condition goes away, maybe the drug works. I don't need no stinking double-blind study to know that this stuff works, okay? I made a couple telephone calls back to these people, and they didn't know. I was taking my LDN religiously. Now, a good portion of these patients were our patients, and it's funny how they were able to create drug on their own. Somehow, we would send them a 30-day supply, and 60 days later, they would be reordering it.